All right, I'm here with my daughter Megan, and she's going to share with us what she can remember anyway about her first experience, and so far it's only your only experience, right?
Yes.
Of flying completely alone without anybody with her. So this was about 1.5 years ago when we went to Disney World, November of 2022.
Yes.
Yes. And she was here where we are now at her college, and Ben and I had flown down there ahead of her.
Just by a couple days, I think.
Right. We flew down, I think, on Saturday, and you flew down on Tuesday. The reason for that was because Megan does not get as long of a Thanksgiving break as Ben does. Okay, so she had an additional challenge in that not only did she have to fly by herself.
I had to get to the airport by myself.
Right.
So basically, there is a bus that goes from my school to the Minneapolis airport. And I think this trip, when I flew by myself for the only time, I guess, was my first time using that bus.
Was it really?
Yes.
Oh, I think that might be right. Yeah.
That's how we figured out there was a bus.
Okay.
But now I use it more often.
Yeah. So how was the bus part, first of all? Did you have any... Do you remember that at all?
I think because I've been on that bus so many times since, I don't really remember the first experience. But I remember they don't really check our tickets for that.
Yeah.
And I know they didn't do it the first time. I think there were lots of other people on
Students.
the bus. Students on the bus.
That are also going home for Thanksgiving or going somewhere. Was that the time that guy friend of yours? Yes.
One of my friends from a class I had was also on the bus going to the airport, and he'd never flown through MSP before, so I helped him get through the airport. Okay, I do remember now that I have that.
We've showed the correct thing to do in a video since. I'll link it up above.
I think because I had that friend with me, I felt a little more confident going through the airport.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't really afford to worry about, I guess, what I was doing, because I was trying to help him. And I was like, okay, I have to be confident for my friend. I did still mess up the first time, but it was only because I'd never been to that part of the airport before. And we figured out our air really fast and corrected it. We just had to go down a different escalator.
So the bus arrives, we've showed you this in a video before, on the ground level of the silver ramp.
Yes.
And Megan had never been to the silver ramp.
I didn't even know there was a silver ramp.
Yeah, none of us had been there before that.
I didn't know where the bus was going to drop us off.
So they took the escalators up, and I know now what you did. You went up to where the cars are for car rental.
Yeah. We just took the wrong escalator because I was thinking departures is up.
Right.
We have to go up for departures.
But you weren't connected to the main terminal yet.
We weren't in the main terminal yet, so we had to go on the tram first.
Right.
And then we figured it out, and then we were fine.
Was he also flying Delta, do you remember?
He was also flying Delta, so we checked his flight, and he told me what gate he was at, and I said, okay, this is the way you want to go through security, because I'd asked Mom.
Right.
Because I said, hey, I've got my friend with me. Where should I send him through security so he can get there the fastest?
Was it the same security you went through?
No. That was a bit of a bummer. I went through a different security because, both of our gates were really close to security, but they were on opposite ends of the airport.
Okay.
So I did have to send him off by himself for that, but I didn't feel too bad about that because I think he had flown in general before, just not through that airport.
Okay. Now, you had flown many times with us before.
Right.
So you were very familiar with the airport.
Yes.
And had gone through security and everything, and you knew what to do. I should say there's a difference between if you're flying for the first time ever and you're just flying for the first time alone.
Yes. I can't remember if I checked a bag or not.
No, you didn't. You brought your small suitcase.
I brought my small suitcase, and I must have put it in the overhead, because I think I do remember a guy helping me.
And I remember that because you were bummed because you were having trouble fitting everything.
Yes, yeah. And somebody helped me because I wasn't quite strong enough to get my suitcase up in the top. And so the passenger behind me
Now, do you remember, you had the Delta, I remember you had the Delta app on your phone.
That's why I installed the Delta app, was for that trip.
And we also had figured out before you, that day, we had the horrifying realization that you had to be back
early.
Yep, and so we had to change your flight.
Yeah.
And you managed to do all that yourself, didn't you, on the Delta app?
I think I had to call someone.
Did you have to call somebody?
I remember calling someone.
Okay, but I kind of told you what to do.
Yeah, you told me what to do, and I called someone, and she got it switched Or I did it on the app. I don't remember. But I remember being on the phone with someone.
Okay. But you were able to check in by yourself on the app?
Yes. That was very easy. The check-in process on the Delta app is very simple.
Yep.
And it prompts you by email. And you can check in through the email, like get to the app.
Right.
So it makes it easy for you.
And then since you didn't check a bag, you didn't have to worry about doing that before you went through security.
Correct. So that wasn't a problem. I did have to do that by myself the last trip we went on, just because Mom and Ben were having trouble.
Yep.
And so I just went on ahead because I was ready to go through security. So I checked my bag by myself and then went through security by myself.
Right.
But that wasn't too bad because I knew they were right there.
Yeah, we could actually see her ahead of us in the security line. Do you remember at this point, once you had split off from your friend and you had to go through security by yourself, do you remember feeling nervous at all at that point?
Probably. I'm always nervous when I go through security, even when I'm with my family. Security stresses me out.
Okay, explain that a little bit, because some people, I know this is that's why I made a whole separate video about it.
About security.
What is it about security that makes you feel that way, would you say?
I think it's just like an anxiety thing, and that sort of irrational, like, what if I secretly do have something illegal in my bags? Or like just the fear of getting stopped by TSA.
Yeah.
Like, what if something's wrong? What if I have to stop here and I miss my flight?
Yeah. I think that's a big one for people.
That's a big stressor. But usually it goes pretty smoothly. Sometimes the TSA agents are kind of tense, which is just unnerving in general. But as long as you're just doing what you're told, like, you should be fine.
Yeah.
They'll always tell you exactly what to do. What annoys me is, like, they're always so adamant about, you have to take your tablets and your computer out of your backpack. And I've learned to just do that well ahead of time. And sometimes I'll even be, like, holding them and actively putting them into a bin. And the TSA agent will point at my backpack and say, you have any laptops or iPads in there? And I'm like, nope, they're right here. And they'll be like, you got any more in there? And I'm like, no, just these.
Yeah, that is kind of funny.
So, yeah, it's as long as you're doing what you're supposed to, it's fine.
But you've even gotten, not on this trip, but you got
pulled. I did get stopped by TSA, and we talked about that in another video.
Yep. And I got stopped that same day.
Yeah, because your library book.
Yeah, it was a free book I won from Goodreads. Once you got through security, did you have any concerns after that?
I don't think so. I think I was a little bit wary about where my gate was.
Okay.
And just getting to my gate, because even nowadays, like, sometimes I'll go through the other TSA lane and I won't remember, like, that there are different ones.
Right.
And I'll get spit out in, like, this weird area and I'm like, where am I?
Yeah.
But I think I was okay for the most part.
Once you found your gate.
I didn't buy myself food because I had food with me. I had packed a lunch.
Okay.
And I ate it on the plane. I'll get back to that. But yeah, like, if you have a packed lunch or something, they let you take it through security.
Okay.
And they don't stop you for that.
As long as there's no liquid.
Right. I did not have a liquid in there because they give you water on the plane.
Right.
Why do I need a liquid?
Okay, so you're at the gate.
I'm at the gate.
You knew you're just basically waiting for your group to get called, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I feel like at this point I probably wasn't nervous anymore, and the experiences kind of blend together because there was nothing about this one that made it stand out other than the fact that I was alone. But I was in Comfort Plus because our Delta status makes it so that usually they offer us a free upgrade to Comfort Plus.
Right.
But we never take it when we're...
Forgot that you got Comfort Plus that time.
We never take it when we're together because it would get us separated.
Yep.
And we, specifically bought our seats together, so that's just not something we want to do. We're fine sitting together in the economy section.
Didn't you even sit by yourself on the way home from Paris?
Yeah, I sat next to a
guy. Yeah. So you
But
have...
that was only 2 seats. That's why we couldn't sit together.
Right, because there weren't 3 seats together.
So it was just the guy I was next to.
On this flight to Florida, do you remember?
Yeah, on this flight to Florida, I was on the aisle, and the seat in the middle was empty.
Oh, that's nice.
And then there was another guy...
on the window.
Youngish dude on the window. And we both had packed a lunch, and we're, like, eating our lunch at the same time, which I thought was funny. Honestly, if I'm really think about it, the only benefit of Comfort Plus that I experienced on that trip was the extra legroom.
Okay.
So if you need the extra legroom, that's nice, but otherwise it really wasn't different from regular seats
in main cabin.
Yeah.
So do you think it's not worth paying extra for?
I don't think it's worth paying extra.
If you get the free upgrade, great.
Yeah, but I wouldn't like get it for myself. Here's what I'm going to say. If ever there's a time where I want to pay extra for a seat, I'm putting myself in first class.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough of a difference between
Comfort Plus
and main cabin,
yeah, okay.
in my opinion. Also, every time we walk by Comfort Plus at the end of a flight, it's always so dirty.
It's trashed, I know.
It's completely trashed, and there's trash everywhere. And I don't know if people think that, like, are entitled.
Yeah.
But please don't leave your trash anywhere on an airplane.
I know.
But especially if you're in Comfort Plus, like, just throw your trash away when they come around 10 times with a trash bag.
Seriously, I feel like there's no excuse for not throwing away your stuff when they come around as many times as they do with the trash bag.
Just please pick up after yourselves. The airline will really appreciate it, and it'll help the next people get on their flight faster because they don't need to spend as much time cleaning up the plane.
Remember that airplane probably makes 5-6 trips a day, and you're not probably the last one on there. Okay, and then when you got to... Now, this was probably a scarier part.
The scarier part, surprisingly, was when I was at Disney World.
Yeah.
By myself. Because it was night.
Okay, back up a little. You got off the plane and you had to find...
Oh, you're right. Oh, this was really scary.
Yeah.
I had to find the
Sunshine Express.
Sunshine Flyer.
Sunshine Flyer, yeah.
I had to find the Sunshine Flyer. And I think... No, I had a hard time finding it. Because it was new enough, in the 2 years it was open.
that it lasted.
That it didn't have, like, a big sign. All there was a guy standing at a little podium outside.
You had to go outside?
Outside. I had to go outside, and I checked in outside, and then I waited there, and there was, like, no other people.
Wasn't it dark by then?
It was pitch black. It was very late at night, and I was very scared because I didn't even quite know if I was in the right place. The man checked my name off on a piece of paper.
Oh, my gosh.
And I was like, is this really Disney? Because obviously Disney usually has, like, all their fun automated little stuff. So I was genuinely suspicious. Like, am I getting on at the right place?
This was probably the first time we'd been there and rented a car, but since there was no Magical Express anymore.
Yeah.
That you were using a bus service.
But then the Sunshine Flyer did pull up, and it was very clearly the Disney Sunshine Flyer. It had the train painted on the side. And the driver, I think, was pretty nice. But I was very tired, and I was feeling very lonely because I really wanted to see my family.
Right.
Like, I'd just gotten off a long trip. I skipped class.
Yeah.
But I had class the previous day.
Yeah.
I was really tired. It was the break. It was
a long day.
It was a long day.
Because you met us at closing at Magic Kingdom at midnight.
But I started my trip before lunch.
Yeah.
Probably at 9 a.m., honestly.
When you were on the bus, did you start to recognize things?
No, because it was pitch black.
Okay.
And it was raining.
Oh, that's right.
And I remember that very specifically because I had a little emo moment of leaning my head against the wall of the bus.
With the rain.
And then it was raining, and I was crying, and I was watching my tears mix with the rain and my reflection because I was sad and tired.
Okay, so I had gotten you your own room at Pop Century.
Right.
Did you have your magic band?
I did not have my magic band.
I must have had it.
I could not enter the part. Well, I would have had to pay for a ticket, and it was closed.
Right.
But I...
Oh, right, because we were at Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party.
Yes, but Mom and Ben were at Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, and basically what I did was
How'd you get into your room? Did you go to the desk?
I did go to Pop Century first.
Yeah, you went to Pop Century on the Sunshine Flyer, and you dropped off your bag and everything.
I might have left it with the front desk.
I think you went...
No, I checked in and I got a key card.
Yeah, that's right.
I got a regular key card, and I went to my room. I must have dropped off my suitcase.
Skyliner?
I took the Skyliner, and I had to get some help from employees, but thankfully the employees were very nice, of course, and figured out where I needed to go and how to get there.
It was a challenge because Magic Kingdom was technically closed.
Yes.
So there was no bus transportation to Magic Kingdom because the park was technically closed for the party and she didn't have a party ticket.
So I needed to get to Magic Kingdom somehow, but there was a weird thing where I couldn't get there. I just couldn't get there because the Skyliner...
You couldn't get there from here.
The Skyliner does not go to Magic Kingdom directly.
Right.
And the only place I could think of was I could take the Skyliner to Epcot and then take the monorail from Epcot to Magic Kingdom. But that's where the employee corrected me and said, no, you can't do that because you would need to go inside of Epcot.
Right.
So I don't remember what he told me to do, but I had to go to some resort and take like a couple routes. And then I got to, I think, a resort that had the monorail. And it was still a while before Mom and Ben were done at the party. So what I did was I went around and explored the 3 resorts.
Yeah, the 3 monorail resorts.
I explored the 3 monorail resorts.
Yep, she went to Polynesian
and Grand Floridian and the Grand Contemporary.
Right.
And that was okay, but I was really tired and I really just wanted to see my family. So finally, it was time for me to meet Mom and Ben. So I went on the monorail from... one of those resorts to Magic Kingdom, and I waited for them like outside the exit gates, and then they came out and we met up. It was probably like midnight or past midnight.
It was actually at it was at the parking tram.
Yeah, I met them like at the parking tram.
Oh, we had a car.
You did?
Yeah, we had a car.
Oh, a rental car.
Yeah, we had a rental car, and we met you at the parking tram.
Yes.
And we got on the parking tram together.
To go to the car.
And then we all went in the car back to Pop Century.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah. So she had a very long travel day that involved a lot more than just getting through the airport and flying by herself.
How many vehicles did I take that day? Bus from school to the airport.
Yep.
A plane.
Tram
at the airport. The Sunshine Flyer.
Yep.
The Skyliner. The monorail. The tram to get to the parking lot, and a car.
Yeah.
That's 8 vehicles.
Oh my gosh, in one day. Okay, so she was a college student when she did this. For comparison, the first time I flew alone, I was 16 and I was going to do a study abroad program in Ireland. They had arranged all my transportation, the program had. I had to fly alone from Minneapolis, which at the time it was Terminal 2. And I remember my dad taking me to Terminal 2 and dropping me off. And I remember I wasn't really scared, but my dad seemed a little nervous to be putting me on the plane by myself. I had to fly to LaGuardia in New York City, and then somehow I had to catch a bus. Because I feel like at the time, like most domestic flights, or maybe it was the airline I was on, flew into LaGuardia, and then I had to get a bus across New York City to JFK. And then all of us that were flying from the United States, because my program was actually a mix of American, French, and Spanish students, and we were placed in homestays. We were all in individual homes when we got to Ireland. All of us Americans that were flying from the United States had all met up at JFK. And so we were together. I don't know, there were maybe 15, 20 of us. And we had a chaperone. It was a woman, a mom. Her son was doing the program too. And we all were on the same flight from JFK to Dublin with a stop in Shannon. But we were not seated together on the plane. So I actually flew all the way to Ireland for that was my first time flying by myself. You know, I mean, the chaperone was on the plane from JFK to Dublin if I had needed something, but I was sitting with strangers on the plane. And then, this was freaky, when we got to Dublin, they put us all on a bus, and they drove us to a church parking lot, and we all sat on the bus, and our host parent, which in most cases was the mom, came and picked us up at this church parking lot. So for many of us, this was our first time away from home by ourselves. This was many people's first time flying ever, because this was in 1987, I think. And some people had never even been out of their home state or anything. And we were sitting on this bus, like a coach bus, and this Irish person would come to the door of the bus and say the name of their student that they were there to pick up, and they would call our name, and we got off the bus and got in a car with a complete and total stranger and drove off to their house to stay with them for months, and so that was really freaky. So I think something interesting here from both my story and Megan's story is that the airport and the flight were not necessarily the most intimidating or frightening part. It was after we got to the place we were going to.
Which, again, was really weird being at Disney World, which is a place we've been many times and we're very comfortable with, and we know, like, their service is going to be very good. It was surprising to me that that was the scary part.
Yeah, because you were most familiar with that.
Right.
But to be there by yourself.
But I'd even gone into a park by myself before.
Oh, yeah.
I'd gone to Hollywood. I went into Hollywood Studios and had a whole day by myself when I was 14.
Yep.
And that went really well. And I was very confident then. We made a video about it.
Yep.
I filmed it for Mom.
Yep.
So it was surprising to me. I think it was because I was just really tired and it was late at night.
It was dark.
And it was dark, that I was just uncomfortable.
I would definitely say that for you in that experience, the darkness probably really was a big contributing factor.
Because nothing looked really the same.
Yeah. Did you at any point in the experience of flying alone for the first time feel like you weren't going to be able to do it?
I don't think so.
No.
I think I was okay. I mean, I'd done it enough times. I think if you were new to flying, or if you hadn't flown as much as I had at that point in my life, it would have been a lot more nerve-wracking. But it was not something I was at all unfamiliar with.
That's really why I wanted to make these type of videos, is because I wanted to help people to know what are the steps.
Yeah.
And what do you have to do at each step of the way, so you know. Because if you know what you need to do next,
you can get there.
You can get there. I mean, yeah. And what would you say about, like, the airport and, like, the ease of finding your way around in the airport?
I think for the most part, it's, like, just in general, or me specifically?
Like, just in general.
The airport is pretty well signed.
Yeah.
I mean, at every intersection, there are signs up on the ceiling saying, this is where gates A, B, C are, this is gates G, E, F.
Right. The other thing I would say, wouldn't you, is, like, even when we've flown into unfamiliar airports, which we do all the time.
The signage is very good, and we can find our way pretty easily.
We never really get lost in an airport.
No.
I mean, even flying into other countries.
Yeah.
I mean, airports are all kind of the same.
Yeah.
Generally.
I would say so.
And they're also kind of a one-way thing.
Yeah. I think the only difference between airports that I can think of off the top of my head is the size.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Some airports are just bigger than others.
Bigger than others.
MSP is probably
a pretty big
5-10 times the size of John Wayne Airport
in California. Yeah.
But they're still the same layout-wise, right, which is really interesting.
Yeah, it's the same general setup.
Yeah.
So, okay. So hopefully this helped you guys hearing from Megan's personal experience of flying on her own. So Ben is the only one in our family
who has not flown
by himself yet.
By himself. Has Andrew flown by himself without a group?
Yes. He flew in Seattle for Alaska last year. He flies home all the time for Christmas by himself.
He's an adult now, I guess.
Yeah.
I was thinking he was like...
She brings up a good point, though. Let's see if we can think of the first time Andrew flew alone. Because he did. He went on a lot
of trips in high school and
college groups.
He was always with
the group. That's true.
Do you think it might have been the time he was stuck in Texas in the snowstorm and had to fly to meet us at Disney World after that?
No, because we didn't end up doing that. They did end up getting back just in time.
Oh, and he flew with us?
Yep.
Oh.
No, I was working on it because I thought he was going to have to do that.
Then not that.
I'm going to have to think about this. All right. I messaged Andrew to ask him if he remembers when the first time he flew by himself, because I can't remember that he wasn't with either a group or with family, because I don't know when it was. He might have been even older than Megan was. In the meantime, while we're waiting for him to answer, I want to talk to you just one more time. Remind you that my kids have never flown as unaccompanied minors. But that is an option. I think it depends on the airline. But I know like with Delta, it's like 14 and younger, they have to be an unaccompanied minor. And then like 15 and 16, you can register them so they get the service. But they can also fly alone without it if they want to. Which I think Ben would be, at that age, would have been completely fine doing that. Basically, what registering your child as an unaccompanied minor does, I don't think it costs anything. It shouldn't. It's a service that the airline provides for you so that there is an adult with your child all the time. And there has to be someone to pick them up at the other end. There has to be an adult, like registered family member, somebody that the parent signs them up to be picked up by at the other end. So, whether it's they live with mom and they're going to stay with dad for a while, or they're going to visit their grandma or whatever, somebody that the parent let the airline know ahead of time is going to be picking them up has to be there to pick them up and show ID and all that. But in the airport, all it's going to involve is that there's going to be an airline employee that's going to escort them from place to place. So they're going to get them through security. They're going to take the child directly from mom, say, and they're going to get them through security, and they're going to get them to their gate, and they're going to stay with them at the gate, and then escort them to the door of the plane, hand them off to the flight crew. So then the flight crew knows that this is an unaccompanied minor. They're going to know that too, and they're going to watch out for that kiddo while they're on the plane. And then another airline employee is going to pick them up at the door of the plane, take them from the flight crew to wherever they meet their designated adult that's picking them up from the airport at the other end. So that's what an unaccompanied minor involves. I know there's been stories in the news of times that this has gone wrong, but just like lost luggage, that's something that happens so rarely that I really don't think you need to worry about it. But again, my kids have never flown as unaccompanied minors, so I can only tell you, just my general knowledge of it, not any personal experience. I'm picking this up several days later from a new location back at home, but I just wanted to follow up with the unaccompanied minor thing. I do have a friend from college. Their family's from Minnesota, and they now live in the San Francisco Bay Area in California, but she sends her kids back to Minnesota every summer to visit her parents and also to go to camp in Minnesota because she really wants them to have that experience. And so she does use the unaccompanied minor program a lot to have her kids fly. They also use Delta. And I can tell you from what I've learned from her experience that Delta Airlines does seem to do a very good job with unaccompanied minors. Okay, it took a really long time for Andrew to get back to me when I messaged him asking him when was the first time that he flew alone by himself without a group like Megan and I were talking about. And I think he was thinking about it too. And he realized it was not until he moved out to New England. So he didn't move out there until he was 23, 24 years old to go to law school. He was considerably older the first time he flew alone than either Megan or I were. And Andrew, again, had had a lot of experience flying just in general at that point, so I don't think he was at all intimidated by the idea of flying alone. But it could be a scary experience for you if you have never done it before, or it's been a long time since you flew with other people, or you've never flown at all. That's a whole different ballgame. And I have another video coming up to show you step by step the process of getting through the airport if you're flying alone. So stay tuned for that and make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss that video when it comes out. Because I realize that especially if you've never flown before, this can be a really overwhelming and intimidating process. And I want to help you to be able to do that so that not having somebody to fly with you isn't a reason for you not to be able to travel somewhere. The other really big takeaway I want you to get from this video, which I hope you found this interesting and entertaining to watch, is that one of the most important parts you need to figure out when you plan a trip, and this isn't just if you're flying by yourself, but this is on any trip, is it's very important that you figure out ahead of time what you're going to be doing and what's going to happen after the plane lands at your destination, where do you have to go in that other airport? I mean, sure, you probably want to stop at the bathroom. You may or may not need to stop at the baggage claim to get your suitcases, but then what? And that's a step of the travel process that I think a lot of people often forget about. And you've got to make sure that you have that set up ahead of time, that you have a plan for after you land at your destination airport. How are you getting to wherever it is you're going? Is somebody picking you up? Where are they going to be? Are you taking a shuttle to your hotel? Does your hotel have a shuttle? Are you going to need to take a taxi or an Uber or Lyft or something? What exactly is happening once you get to the airport on the other end? And make sure you have that all taken care of ahead of time. After traveling all day, like Megan was talking about in her story, you can be really tired and frazzled and you don't know where exactly you're going and stuff like that. And you want to make sure you have a plan. Where are you going and how exactly are you going to get there and all of that on that end? Because it turned out for both her and I, our first time flying, that was the scary part. Even though we both had a plan and everything was set up and in place, it was still very intimidating to get to a new city, whether you've been there before or not, which in Megan's case she had, but in my case I hadn't. I was in a totally new country I'd never been to before. And have everything be unfamiliar and you don't know what you're doing or where you're going. So that's really important, and I hope you take that to heart and really give that part of the travel process the time and attention it needs. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I really hope this was helpful to you, that you can take away from our experience and that it will help you feel a little more confident about flying on your own and let you know that you don't have to be nervous, you don't have to be scared, that you really can do this. Have a great day, everyone, and safe travels.